Welcome to the Virginia Carolina Deer Tracts podcast. I'm Mike Davis, and I am here to talk about everything hunting, hunting land, and the great outdoors in both Virginia and North Carolina. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the latest and greatest episode of the Virginia Carolina Deer Tracts podcast. Let me tell you what we got going on today. We have a fellow Virginian, Mr. Brian Thacker, with us today, a Virginia team member from Lone Wolf Custom Gear. Welcome aboard, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me, Mike. Appreciate it.
Man, my pleasure. You know, let me start off by saying that your background is way cooler than my background.
Oh, yours is beautiful, though.
Well, this one's kind of fake, but
okay. Gotcha.
But no, we're working on it. Man, I'll have a background looking like yours soon. So, but no, cool. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend with me today. I had the pleasure of meeting Brian in person for the first time at the Whitetail Roadshow that was here in Virginia. Gosh, when was that? Back in August?
Yeah. Back middle August.
Middle August. So got to meet Brian in person, and we hit it off pretty good. We're both built the same. We're short and stocky, old football players, and a couple of old timers here. So we hit it off pretty good, and Brian was kind enough to join us on the show today. So, but man, I tell you what, I'm just going to jump right into it because I'm so excited. You had some success already. I mean, first opening weekend, and you done already pulled the trigger, man. So before I even get into anything else, man, I want to hear this story. Tell us about it, man.
Oh man. So it's still I'm still smiling. So doesn't happen to me too often. First day success like that. You know, years back when I was a younger guy, I would always shoot the little doe and fill my freezer or something like that, you know, and big bucks don't seem to ever be moving until around that magical Halloween week, you know, for all of us. So, but as you get older, you kind of change a little bit, and I've kind of been searching for a big mature buck, and I found one in July, and couldn't believe the size of the deer. So I hunt a lot of suburban areas in Virginia, and what that means is 5-10 acre pieces, a lot. And this deer was pushing 200 pounds, and not a whole lot of ag around for a deer to get that size. He has to kind of travel to get that kind of nourishment, you know, to get that big. So he's good 5-6 year old deer. But I had him in July, and then would try to do some glassing across some fields, and I caught him one evening, and I saw where he was coming in and out of. So I was like, okay, I think I got a good point on you. And the way where I used the Onyx app, and I looked at everything around it, and I saw where his travel should be coming, the way it looked. I knew if I was going to get him, I needed to get a wind that wasn't a west wind, southwest, anywhere like that, because I didn't have any other options. Which just boogered it all up. So as the season got near, I got a hardhorn picture of him walking by, and I had a picture in the evening, and then I wound up getting a picture in the morning. So I wasn't quite sure which was best to hunt. And opening day, I never miss an opening. I haven't missed an opening day in 42 years, since I was 15 years old. And just to side off of that, I even got hurt playing in a homecoming football game, pinched a nerve in my neck when I was 17, and drugged myself to go hunting that next day out of the hospital stint with a big brace around my neck. It's just
that's dedication, brother.
Yeah, it's just it's like the start of the Daytona, you know, for us bow hunters, man. It's like it's just first day, just, you know, especially in these times. I really, I'm 57 years old, and I get out in the woods, and it soothes the soul. It kind of recharges your battery. That we get to do this. It's a blessing, you know, that we get to do this. And a lot of times you can really overlook all the roses along the way in your season as you chase a big buck, and you can overlook all the great things that you're able to do. So that's just a little caveat I've learned, just to soak up the moment, you know, because a lot of guys go, you should let it walk till next. We're not guaranteed next year.
That's right.
right? So
That's right. No, and I don't want to sidetrack here, but you're 100% right. And I don't know if you remember, but when we met at the road show, I was just a couple of weeks out of back surgery, and there was a possibility that I was going to miss some or all of bow season. And man, that really was a wake up call in terms of being able to, I mean, just really appreciating being out there and being able to do it because that old saying that you don't know what you got till it's gone. You start thinking about you might not be able to do it, and it changes your perspective a lot.
a
So
whole lot.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. It really does. And so I said, I looked on my wind app, I looked at the wind, and the wind was doing a southwest. And I said, you know what? And of course, my wife in 2019, I killed my largest Virginia deer on a bad wind. And I've talked about this one before, and maybe we can get into it later. But she caught me sitting at home in the morning on the couch, and she asked me why I didn't go. And I said, because my wind app said the wind. She said, your what app? I said, she goes, well, I don't know a whole lot about hunting, but I know you can't kill them sitting on the couch. And it fired me
boom,
up. And I went that evening in a bad wind and killed the best deer. So bottom line is you have to be there, but you got to be careful.
right,
And I said, you know what? First day, I know neighbors are around me. I got one Yahoo neighbor I already know about. I caught him on my camera. So I said, I know I better get out there. If a tank comes through, I need to at least know. If he doesn't ever show, at least I know I tried.
right,
So I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to go. I'm going to set back from his core area, and I'm going to try to hunt the fringe in case that wind goes. Maybe I'll be far enough up that I'll be able to get a shot. So I hunted Saturday morning, and sure enough, the wind started going southwest, and I said, "Dad, going," and I had a little small buck go under me, and another one come around, and then from that way, I thought he was coming. Of course, a nanny doe picked me off, and she's sitting there, and the other two deer eating fine. It's always that one, and she's stomping, and she starts snorting, and then I'm like, "Oh, you're lucky I'm not 20 years old right now because we'd end
right.
this quick." And she was carrying on and boogering up the whole woods, and I'm like, and then she left, and I sat there for a little bit, and I waited till about 10 o'clock, and I came home. I got home, and big Clemson fan. Clemson played at 12 when they were playing North Carolina, and big game against Bill Belichick and all that. So I said, I'll watch this game for a little bit. And then my wife, I walked outside, checked the wind at halftime. She said, "Are you leaving? Are you going to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go." She said, "Well, good for you." I said, "I'm telling you right now, though, my little inner bitch in me is saying, don't go because the wind's wrong. It's getting warm." And I'm like, you know what? I'm going. I'm going after this deer. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get aggressive. And we talked about this at the road show a lot. Sometimes you have to get aggressive. And I went right into the area. And I was actually in my .5 I have, one of my favorite stands, and set up right on this bench. And what I mean by a bench is there's a creek, and it slopes down to the creek, and in that creek bottom, these deer will walk the creek. You can hear them so when they're just when they're going across the rocks and stuff. But if you get down in there, your thermals will just you just can't hunt them down there. So you have to kind of get up, and there's just one bench where it runs, and it kind of goes up. So I was on that bench and was sitting there and had a couple deer go by. And just, it was at the right time I noticed the wind shifted from southwest. It was shifting just a little bit and it went southeast. And I'm like, oh, this is money. I'm going to be right here because it's just, you could just feel it. And the way the wind was going, I was like, if he comes, he's not going to know I'm here. If he comes the way he should come. And then I was sitting there and a couple deer passed me, and with a little 6-pointer, he started working a scrape, and another little buck. And then I kind of caught out of the corner of my eye, and then 2 bucks started kind of feeding around on acorns. And I looked, and as soon as I saw the rack, I said, "That's Tank. Oh my gosh, here he comes." So first thing I did is I said, "Man, I better get my camera right." And I have this Insta360, and I have it mounted up on my boat holder above me. And all morning it was working like a champ. I would sit there and I would tap my little remote control and lights on. It's like, man, this is the best thing ever. and I forgot to take my painted arrow that sits on your stabilizer. It's a little magnet for your cell phone. That's kind of my 1-2 punch. But and it's first day, and that was the one I forgot. And so I pushed my remote on my butt, and here he comes. He's coming, man. I got my bow in my hand, eased around, and I got this tree in front of me, like an old dogwood tree, but it's got all these leaves in front of me, perfect block up. And he's feeding. He's like 7 yards.
Oh, wow.
And he's underneath of me. Wind's perfect. He's just feeding on acorns. And I'm sitting here tapping this watch, and it's saying Bluetooth not connected.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, no. Well, here's what, to come to find out after all of this was said and done, if I would have not tapped it one more, it was recording. But I tapped it, but I retapped it one. So I have a picture.
So you cut it off, like you tapped
it
and cut it off.
I did. So,
oh man.
Anyways, so he starts. I said, well, I can't worry about that no more. So he starts to go, and he walks to this 10-yard opening. I'm getting ready to draw back, and as soon as I'm getting ready to draw back, he brisked right through it. I said, oh no. So he still eat, and then he stopped and eat, and I didn't have a shot, and there was this one little hole about the size of a beach ball, about 20 yards. And I drew back, and I said, he's going to go right through that. And sure enough, I mean, he just mingled right through it. And I didn't even have to stop him or nothing. He was just eating. And I'm like, I got to put it right behind that last rib because it was quartering away. And I said, if I put it right behind that last rib, it's going to come out right here on the other side. And that's the main part I wanted. Yeah. And, and I let it loose, man. And when I let it loose, it was like, it's that great feeling all us bow hunters have when you know that arrow is right on your pin.
Yeah.
I mean, it was true. It wasn't nothing high, low. It was just I'll just never forget. It's like a dart, and it hit that deer, and Tank turned, and when he turned, I saw blood just come flying out of the side.
Oh yeah.
And he ran off, and then it just, I just I saw my knock in the ground, and I was able to start videoing after that with my cell phone, just in case, just to get some footage and stuff. And I started shaking, man. It just does. I tell this to people. My wife doesn't understand, but she does now. But a lot of people are like, man, why do you do that? I said, that feeling that you get when it all comes together, it's priceless. It's just fear, man. It's I just hard to even explain my I was so excited because it's when you follow a deer for a few months, you start getting this like almost a relationship.
Yeah, you become attached. You really
yeah. And I've only had, this is the third time this has happened. I've killed 100 deer in my time, and all them deer, they show up, you shoot them or you see it, whatever. But the deer you get attached to is emotional, man, because it's like you almost tear up, my one, I cried on the one I got on 2019, and this one, Tank, man, I sat down beside him for a while, and man, it's over, it's over. But as soon as I got down, it was getting dark. I said, I know I made a good hit. I went over to the arrow and I saw it, and I was like, I'm just going to follow it for a little bit. And thank goodness he stayed on our property and didn't run down to this big creek bottom, because this was a big buck and I'd had a hard time getting out. But he ran, and I looked up, and what he did is he ran about 70 yards, spun around, did a button hook, and came back and crashed. And my hearing's bad. And I thought I heard him crash, but I have, my hearing's pretty bad. But I was like, I think he's, and I had some deer blowing at me, and I was like, man. But then when you see him, man, it's like, oh man. The smile is and texting my wife, and congratulations. And the thing about it is that it was just me, and it's getting dark, and this deer was over 200 pounds plus, and now the fun begins to get him home,
right?
And I luckily I didn't have too far. I got my truck as far as I could, and then I had to backstep with him, man. I had to backstep with him about every 5 yards and stop. Then go 5 yards and stop, 5 yards and stop. And I finally started, getting to where I could see where my truck was. And I'm sweating, and I get him I have a bumper buddy on the back of my Tacoma. And usually I just stand on this thing, and it's so old. I've had it since 2000. It's so old. It'll almost, if I stand on it, it'll sway almost to the ground. And then I pick deer up on it and then rock it back, and I can get him over. Well, this
Right.
buck, he was so big. Once I got his shoulders over, I couldn't get his stomach and pelvic up over that part of it.
Yeah.
So I get off, and I'd lift that part, but I just needed one person to hold the rack. And I've talked to a few guys since then, and one guy told me a great thing to do is take a ratchet strap, if you carry a ratchet strap, and ratchet strap his head down, then you can lift his butt up, and it doesn't then undo the ratchet strap, and so that might be a thing in the future if I ever have that.
Go. Yeah.
But anyway, I finally got him on there for about 8 tries, and then just sweating to death.
Oh yeah, I bet.
You don't know.
It's hard work, man.
Oh, you think you're in good shape until you drag a deer.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Well, an awesome buck, by the way. And I'll try to overlay a picture of it or something here on the video. Great buck, great opening weekend. I'm sorry you didn't get the shot on film, but I've seen the other footage. And I've seen the footage of the bloody arrow. There was no question when you saw that arrow, you weren't going to have problems finding that buck.
Yeah.
And the video where you kind of in the stand and you're pointing out the beach ball size, and you can see the lighted knock through the opening there. That was pretty cool. And then of course your recovery where you're walking through the woods. So all good stuff, man. I was super excited to see that for you. And whether you were going to be on the show or not, I was just like, man, I was cheering for you, man. That was awesome.
Oh man, thank you so much, man. I've had so much. I tell this to people too, because a lot of times we can paint a broad brush and say social media has ruined hunting. And you can paint a broad brush with that, but also social media has created a lot of friendships. It's created a lot of great things, right? Me and you wouldn't be talking without social media, probably.
100%.
You know what I mean? And the friends I have met, when I text that deer out in the past, we were talking before the show, it might have hit about 5 people of your friends in your phone. But now I have 2,000 people that are just support the not everybody's going to like you, and that's fine. But I don't worry about those people. I worry about the ones like yourself, or the ones that give you that positive energy, and they really root for you to do well. And it's like, man, that's awesome. And I could care less what that deer scored. I'm not about that at all. I just know that was a mature 5-year-old deer at least, and was my best fish in my pond. You know what I'm saying? And I tell that to people. If you only have a 5-pound bass in your pond, and all these guys out west are you catching 15-pound bass, and well, that's great. But to do that, you're going to have to go out there, or you're going to have to make sacrifices. And if in your little neck of the woods, these deer, is mature for you, do what makes you happy, man. Because I tell you, man, I've shot a lot of deer, and this feeling for each one of them, man, is special. It's not one more than the other. You can, I have a lot on my wall, but I don't really rate one more special than the other, because each one I look at that moment I was in. You know what I mean? It's like, it's
a time capsule, man. It just takes you right back. It really does.
It really does. That's a great way to say it.
Yeah, man. You can remember the sounds, the smell, the whole scene, man. It just plays out,
Yeah, and my wife, when we have friends over, and I'm starting to talk about it. She looks at me. She goes, "You don't even remember our anniversary, but you know what?"
Yeah. I'm guilty of that stuff too. Man, and there's you know what? I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm leaving that alone.
Yeah. Don't let me drag you into that.
Well, let's talk about Lone Wolf for a second.
Yeah.
How did your connection with the Lone Wolf and the Virginia team, how did all that come to be?
Man, I tell you, it's pretty awesome how it was. So I started hunting. My grandfather and uncle. My uncle was a great archer, and he was my hero. and I always wanted to be make him proud and hang a tree. We had it was a main road, and there was a big oak tree we had, and back then in the '80s, there was basket rack buck was a dandy. There wasn't no scoring, man, back when I grew up. I never heard about inches, and I just wanted to have a dandy buck in the tree. So those tree stands that I grew up using were called Baker tree stands, and they were big old. I don't know if you remember, but they were big old like wooden things, and they didn't even have teeth. They had like a V metal, and I don't know if they're 20 pounds, 30 pounds. I don't know, but and then I wound up getting a Loggy Bayou after that, and then in the '90s I found a lone wolf, and it was a lone wolf assault, and actually I'm sorry, it was a lone wolf alpha, and because it's a little bigger, and I actually they had which I think it was called a quickie hang system, where you could just put a strap around a tree, 2 hooks, and the strap and the 2 hooks, you put a belt in a tree. I'd screw in steps. I unscrew my steps, put sticks in the holes so nobody could see my steps, because I'm hunting in suburban areas and I've had a tree stand taken. And that was my mobile system. And I put this lone wolf on my back, take about, 13 of them screwing steps, have them on my side, and I'd screw them up the trees, hang the tree stand on the hook, and I'd hunt, take it down. I would set belts up through other areas. So that was my favorite way to go. Then I tried a big climber one time, and man, I had a summit, and once I got to where I wanted to go, it was so comfortable. But man, I mean, I was like Santa Claus going through the woods. I'm banging into stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man.
Dude, I'm 5'6", and this summit, this thing was, I couldn't even, I was like, I can't use this tree stand. So I just kept using my lone wolf. So about 3 years ago, I'm at work, and I'm a sales rep for a hardscape company. And, we sell a lot of stone and patios, and a lot of aggregates and stuff. And I'm starting off the morning with my sales, and I got me a cup of coffee, and I get this little ding on my phone. Friend request is from Zach Robb, and I didn't know him from Adam, right? I was like, who's this guy? And I looked at him, and he's holding a deer. I said, well, he seems pretty cool. He's holding a deer. I said, let me check him out. And he had another. I said, yeah, man, I like that guy. I think he seems all right. And it wasn't 5 minutes later, I get this instant message. Now, since we became friends, it went bleep. He goes, hey man, I've been following you for a little bit, been watching, what, some stuff you do. It's awesome. He goes, what kind of tree stand you like to use? That's all he said. I said, well, gosh, man, all right, man. I felt chipper that morning. I said, you know what? I'll tell him. So I kind of told him the whole story in a big, long thing.
Yeah.
Just because that's how it is. And I said, dude, I just love lone wolf. And all he did is he responded back. He said, and this was when I almost spit my coffee out. He goes, man, that's the correct answer, because I work for Lone Wolf. And I was like, oh my, wow, dang. So one conversation led to the other, and then he was just like, hey man, we're kind of, in Virginia, there's a couple of reps, myself and Meredith, and he goes, would you be interested in becoming part of the team? Of course, I'm like, well, yeah, of course.
Right. Yeah.
Think the world of your products and everything. And he's like, well, he goes, we got a couple other guys. We're going to, narrow it down, and we'll get back to you. And I said, okay. So after all that, he finally called me. He said, hey man, I'd like just to meet with you. So we just needed to see each other.
Yeah.
And soon as I saw him and we spoke for 5 minutes, I knew, and he knew. And if you don't know Zach Robb, hopefully a lot of y'all will get it. They call him Sasquatch, is his name, but he's an old soul. You would not believe at the time. I think he's an old man now. He's 30 now, I believe, but you would never believe he was 28 years old, I think, when I met him. Just an old, could be my son. I would love a son like that. You know what I mean? Every dad would. Just a great guy. But anyway, we hit it off, and he's like, yeah, man. He said, it really wasn't a hard decision. He said, we narrowed it down between you and another guy. And he goes, we asked that guy, he said, man, same thing we asked you, what kind of tree stand do you like? And he goes, he said his response was the cheapest bleep bleep one I can find. And he's like, yeah, that might not be our DNA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, well, that's good. So with that, I went to my first road show, and I'm just a little country boy in Virginia, but I do pretty well deer hunting, and I'm very just obsessed me over the years, trying to kill big bucks. And I go to this road show and I'm meeting these guys from Pennsylvania across the Midwest. And I meet Cody DeQuisto, right? And I'm like looking at their deer and I'm listening to them speak and I'm getting very humble pie, right? I'm like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, wow, man, this is the circle I need, because I was in a point of being, I think I was like 54 at the time, 53, 54, and I was getting very complacent, man. I mean, my wife will tell you, since I was 50, if it was raining outside, the wind wasn't perfect, I wouldn't go. Or if the sun wasn't shining I was like, eh. She's like, you're getting soft. I'm like, well, you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
and then I got buddies that are doing well in life and they're building these redneck blinds with TVs in them. And I go sit in one time and I'm like, man, this is nice. And it's just like, I'm starting to get like very soft,
Yeah.
Chris. And I'm looking at this minimalistic way of mobile hunting like I used to. When I killed had the best years, I want to say, is when I was a savage. Like when I just went, I didn't care if it was misted. I didn't care. I'm hunting.
That's right.
That's exactly, just to fast forward to Saturday. If it wasn't for me being on the team I'm on and the way I used to be, I wouldn't have shot that deer because the wind wasn't perfect. You know what I mean?
Right.
But just to go back to what I was talking about is they started speaking, and I'm at the end of the road show. I went over to Cody and I said, "Hey, man, thank you so much for the opportunity, to be a part of this. I'm just a little country boy from, Haymarket, Virginia, and I did pretty well in my little circle there, man. But you guys are unbelievable." And he looked at me, and all he said to me, Mike, he said, "Brian," he said, "iron sharpens iron." And if you ever met Cody, when he stares at you, it hits you in the soul when he talks to you. If you really listen to him, man, because he is all about just doing whatever it takes, whether it's family, whether it's hunting. He gives 150%, man. And it was just like, and he wants to do it his way, with a longbow or however he wants to do it. And I drove home that night, and that next day, that Sunday, I get up and my wife's going, "Where you're going?" I said, "I'm gonna go knock on some doors and find some permission more." She goes, "What's going on here?" I said, "They've lit a fire in me, hon." I said, and I did. And I wound up finding 50 acres. And that year I killed a nice 10-pointer on that 50 acres. And it's very intimidating to knock on a door today. I mean, I'm looking at a Ring camera and I'm feeling like,
yeah,
hi, and actually I was writing a note. That particular farm, they didn't answer the door, and I figured, and I was just writing them a note. I was going to leave a note, and I look over, and the owner's staring at me at my truck. "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "Oh," and we got to talking, and he's like, "You know what? I don't have a problem if you bow hunt. Just let me know when you're coming." And I'm like, man, and we have a great relationship, but I went and tattooed right on my arm right here, "Iron sharpens iron."
nice.
Right after that, just because it means so much to me that surrounding yourself with people that have that are just really great or give all they can in what you love to do is really, I think, the secret sauce. Because if you're just doing it alone and you're around a lot of negative people, or just like you tell your children, "You show me your circle, I'll show you your life," you put yourself into those groups and it's going to do nothing but better you, just all the way. And being 57, I feel like I'm 45. I probably feel like I'm 40, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because it's just the past 3 years, there's a lot of guys that now that I got into this industry that I'm friends with from First Form Energy. If you're not familiar with those guys, all about nutrition, all about, being healthy, the lifestyle, and just branching off to other people that I follow now, that I know, that I'm friends with, and I see, click on their stories and they're getting after it, and you're like, yes, there we go. Come on.
Yeah.
Because everybody, we all need a kick in the butt. Right.
That's right.
Um, so kind of, so that, I was long winded, but that's how I got on the team. And they call me now Uncle Thack because everybody on that team, I think, is 30 years old. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how I got so old, Mike, but
Yeah, I don't know. I'm chasing you as hard as I can.
I know I'm older than you, Mike.
What's that?
I said, I'm older than you.
Yes, yeah. You're like the one person I've met that's older than me.
And I don't know how I got here, man, but I'm here.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. But no, that's you brought up a lot of great points. I was actually Zach. I had Zach on the podcast back. I don't know if it was June or July, kind of promoting the road show. So I got to spend some, spend some time getting to know him, and I had Meredith on as well. So you're completing the Whitetail Road Show trifecta here.
awesome.
But
That's awesome.
I was, again, just like bow hunting, I was almost afraid I wasn't going to be able to go to the show because of the surgery. Technically, I wasn't supposed to be there, but you know how it is. I mean, you just got to go, just got to do it.
Yeah.
And was very glad that I did. And one thing that was very apparent, I mean, other than just the great hunting knowledge and all of that stuff, is that I mean, you talk about that circle. I mean, you guys and gals there, the lone wolf people. I mean, y'all are a very tight knit group. The camaraderie was just spectacular, just to sit back and watch. Like anybody who was there and looks at that, everybody was thinking to themselves, "I want to be a part of that. I want to hang out with those people. Those are the people I want to just be around." I mean, it's just a charisma that you guys put off. It's kind of hard to explain without sounding kooky, but you know,
No, and it's you're right on this point, man. It's so real. Like I drive out to Iowa and I drive out there. It's 13 hours. I drive out there like it's a family reunion. Like it's more, a matter of fact, it's more of a family reunion than my family because my family is kind of just not, my wife's family is more of my family, but it's just to see everyone that I don't get a chance to see but once a year.
yeah,
Because I have guys coming in from Canada, we have guys coming in from all over to that one point, and the Iowa shows kind of, I would say that's the Daytona 500 of our shows because it's the last one. It's the one that when we know it's over, it's time to come home and get everything ready, and you
yeah,
come home and you're like, the bow's coming out, the broadheads are coming on, you're sharpening your knives, you're getting your boots ready, you're getting your clothes washed. It's your stands are getting, you're checking everything on your bow to make, all the stuff we do now. And it really is. And the one thing about the team, and it's why they handpick people. I can see why they do that. They really have a good way of doing it. I'm very thankful they found me, but there's no bashing. So there's not the biggest thing in our industry right now is archers is the crossbow deal. And if you use a crossbow, that's fine. I don't have a problem. Now we could agree to disagree that should it be archery or should it be its own season? That's another matter. But if you choose to use a raven and shoot a deer at 100 yards, hey man, good for you. You're hunting, and we want to promote hunting.
right,
In my way of hunting, I prefer to use a compound bow. I prefer to get to full draw. To me, that moment is priceless just to get to that with deer around you. And then when it's just like it's electric through your body when you go, oh my God, it's about to happen. And then everything clicks off like, don't talk to it. Just, and you just zero into that moment where I also have teammates like Meredith that, hey, I'm going to take it a next step and go primitive with a long bow.
yeah,
And I don't have the nads for that. I just said, you know what I mean? I said, if I would have tried it at 20 or 30, maybe,
right,
but a compound bow is hard enough for me right now. I mean, so I'm good with that. But we want people to follow us, to help them with things that we've learned over the years. A lot of people, because I mean, not one deer is the same. So there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of mannerisms, but every deer is like a person. Some come on a string, some are like hell no. And you just adapt to the wisdom, all the nuggets you can gather from all these people that have been successful, and kind of put them in your book,
Yeah.
and just say, hey, wait a minute. I remember Cody said, don't hunt the fringe of a bedding area. Get in there. Don't worry. You know what I mean? Or sometimes I've heard Andre say, sometimes you need to shoot a doe because that one doe can mess you up.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that, and I've really never thought until I got on the team about thermals. I really didn't. I really didn't. And it hit me like, I mean, you smacked me in my face like it hit me because I used to go 3 o'clock in the morning to beat other hunters to get up in a tree for 2 hours and sit there in the dark. And then hear a doe blowing at me with the wind not blowing, going, why is she blowing at me? Because my thermals I've been there for 2 hours. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, one of the things that I liked at the road show, even though y'all are all kind of working off of a common thread, each of you had very unique individual tips and perspectives. It's not like y'all were all just like regurgitating information out of the lone wolf textbook.
Sure.
Everybody was sharing real world experiences, and some people even I don't want to say they were conflicting ideas, but they were different ideas. Well, like that works for you, but let me tell you what works for me. And you're right. So you had the ability, you could, certain information and tips are going to resonate with you more than others. So you had the ability to cherry pick, like, that's what I needed to hear right there. That's the situation I'm in, and put it in your own playbook. So, you know, just the informal seminars, just that part of it was worth the trip alone, not to mention all the other cool stuff that was going on. So I will continue to be an advocate for the Whitetail Roadshow. Hopefully they're coming back again to Virginia next year, and we can do some more promotional podcasts leading up to it to help spread the word.
Oh man, I hope so, and I appreciate that feedback. Because you always wonder what people think.
Yeah.
And the feedback I got from our last show was tremendous. I had a lot of people come up to me afterwards, and it's very humbling to me. Sometimes I pinch myself. I'm like, well, how am I doing? How am I talking to them? How did I get
right.
here? Because it's like, shit, I'm the same as you are, but hey, and it's really surreal, man. But it's like, it inspires me back. I mean, people inspire me right back, and it's I hear a lot of good ideas. Like I talked to one guy, and this is kind of cool for our listeners too, because you'll see a lot of our younger guys do saddle hunting, and they just rip up trees like it's no big deal, and they go up or they'll take a stand and they'll take it off their back and they'll whip it around a tree like that. And I've had, guys that are older like myself have shoulder problems. I was talking to this one guy. He's like, man, how do you do it, man? I said, you know what I do? I take one of them little rubber bow holders about this big, that little rubber bow holder. And when I get up to my last step, I never step on the top of my last step. I always get to my last step, and I use that last one when I come off. But I step on the first part of my step, and I go right here at chest high, and I screw that bow holder in, just barely. And then I take my lone wolf off my back, my .5, and I hang it right on it, right there, and it sits there. And then I don't have to. That's my third hand. And then I take my belt, and then I'll take my belt, and I'll come around the tree. And then when I cinch it up, all I got to do is just knock that bow holder back up. And there's my stand set. He goes, show me. And we did it. And his face lit up, man. And I was like, man, it's just that right there helping somebody, because it helped. What works for me. I don't like, can I do it? I can monkey around a tree and do it, but I got T-Rex arms, and I'm like, sometimes it's hard for me to whip that belt around. I don't want to.
I feel your pain, brother.
And I'm looking at this tree. How many times have you thrown a belt around and you're just happy to catch it?
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I finally caught that damn thing.
Yeah.
And I had to stand there where I don't have to, you know what I mean? Then I could just ease around and do it, be more quiet. Might take me 30 seconds. I don't know, but then that's done. And so there's little things, you pick up.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I want to go back to something you were talking about there with your hunt with Tank earlier, and that's self-filming. Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
that is something that has changed the dynamic of hunting, certainly for bow hunters. And I've brought it up several times on lots of other episodes because I dabble in it too. And you and I were talking about it a little bit before we pressed the record button on, I mean, it just really just amps up the game in terms of the difficulty level. Let talk about that a little bit. Talk about some of the stuff you're going through.
Sure, absolutely, man. I'd love to, and maybe it can help some people out, and hopefully we get some feedback from them too to help me out. But I've talked to a lot about everybody in our crew, and some guys love a camera arm, right, that swings out. And I tried that a couple years ago, and it got in my way. Like I couldn't, for some reason, for me, there was just something about the phobia of, if I come over here with my bow, or I got to do this, or I got to worry about something out here like this, wasn't comfortable for me. So I went with the cell phone painted arrow that sticks on your stabilizer, and you take your phone and you just magnetic, right there
Yep.
on your stabilizer. And went out to public land in Ohio last year, and just got on the addictions team, and I filmed myself going up the hunt, and everything was going perfect. And it was my first sit. I mean, first sit. And I get out there and get the stand set up, and I'm all happy, and I look over, and there's a doe eating, and I had another cell phone because I just wanted to use the one on my phone for filming. So my bow's hanging. I'm just getting ready to pick my other cell phone out to video this doe, and there's a big buck staring at me.
Mm.
And he's through he's kind of through the laurel, but I can see his eyes. And when I saw his rack, and this is a whole long story, but I'm like, oh my goodness. And I could never, at the point, I had to make little baby steps just to get to my bow every time he would walk or whatever. So finally, when I got my bow in my hand and he's near, there was no possible way, Mike, I could go hit record password, boom, here, there. There was no way. So I wound up shooting the deer and never got it on film at all. And learned a lot about that whole thing. So I said, because the guys on the staff were like, oh man, there's a GoPro or a 360 you could put up in a tree, and that will get you covered for all that. And I'm like, gosh, that's that's what I'm going to do. So this year I bought a 360 Insta camera, and I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use this for self film, and I'm going to use that. And I said, I'm going to go next. I'm going to invest and get the remote control just in case that ever happened again. All I got to do is push a button on my wrist. It's going to start recording. You know what I mean? So now I'm covered.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward to Tank. So I'm sitting there and I'm getting my camera set up. That morning, I tested it all out, and it was working like a champ. Boom, boom, started recording. I said, man, this thing's going to be great. So I'm sitting there and get it all set up. Did that in the morning. Went back that evening, set my camera up, checked it out. I could see it was all looking good. About an hour or so go by, and then I see Tank, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I pushed the button, and just getting ready to look, and I look, and I'm like, what? And it's saying Bluetooth not connected. And I'm like, what are you talking about? No,
Yeah,
no.
right.
And here he's coming. I'm like, oh gosh. So I got my bow, and I'm like, and I can't reach up to turn the thing on with my hand because it's above me and I can't move. He's right here. And I'm like, oh no. So I got a video. It was actually video on it, but it was like Bluetooth or was not connected. So when I hit the button the last time, I turned it off, and I didn't know I turned it off. So I actually have footage of him kind of under me with this tree in the way, and me pushing my watch, and it turned off. And then so I should have, before I left the house, had this as backup for filming.
Right.
So if guys will run this on their phone, and you can just, as you grab your bow, you can hit record and just slide it right on there as you go in one motion. I think that's the best way to do it. Than to leave it sitting out there all by itself, maybe.
Yeah.
Then you have two ways to do it. So for me, for self-filming, it's a big learning curve too, because 40 years, this is 2 years of trying to self-film, 40 years, it's just been me not moving, harvesting a deer.
Yeah.
Now I have something else with me to think about. Totally changes your, you kind of got to look at it a whole different way. It actually, it's just the main thing is you want to put the deer on the ground, but you're like, I got to have an audience watch me put the deer on the ground.
Right.
And I got to do the best way to do that. But you can't sacrifice. It depends. I'm not going to ever be that guy that has a boonie. And I'm sorry, I couldn't shoot him because I couldn't get him on film. I'll never be at that level.
That's a good point.
I'll never be at that level. Because I don't have a boonie. But anyway, so that's not going to ever happen. But yeah, so I think now, and so in Virginia, you have to earn a buck. It's called earn a buck. That means you have to shoot a doe next before I can shoot another buck. So I'm going out this weekend to shoot a doe. Hopefully it comes easy, but if not, but then I'll do some practicing, which I planned on this year a lot. I just did not expect Tank to be the first day and for all that to happen. So I do have really good footage before, and you saw the recovery and some other stuff. It's just the actual part is, just unfortunately, I got to learn. I talked to Zach Robb about it afterwards, and he said when that thing blacks out, it's still recording.
Yeah,
which is a mind.
It's like anything else. You just got to get used to it and kind of learn it. You brought up something earlier in the conversation about I'm paraphrasing here, but you were basically saying even getting to full draw on an animal is an accomplishment. And that's an easy statement for folks to overlook, but it's a truth because that movement is so easy for them to pick off. And the reason I bring that up is now you add self-filming to the mix, right? So, for those of you that don't bow hunt out there, we have to be very still. We have to get these animals in close, in range without them picking us off. So, just getting the bow in the ready position and getting it drawn is incredibly difficult. And, the folks on TV make it look very, very easy, but it's not. And now you add the element to where you've got to move cameras and press record and do all these different things. I mean, you've taken something from 100% difficulty to 1,000%.
Yes. Yeah.
And it really is. And to have it, having Tank and the shot and all that come together is remarkable enough. But, if it would all come together with the film, I mean, it's just, man, it's just a 1% of the 1% kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. And it's, it was, it's like, even my wife, because she knows the blunder I had in Ohio last year, and this is a 155-inch deer. That's, doesn't come around every too often. Yeah. And I had him right there to film, right? I mean, it was right there. It would have been a beautiful episode. It's like, it was right there. And I beat myself up so much. She just, she knows how hard I'm trying. And she's like, did you get it on film? Like, first thing she says to me, oh, he's beautiful. Did you get him on film? And I went, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I said, I don't know till I check.
Right.
And then I checked and I was like, I did. And she goes, oh, just like, I know. It's like, but let's not take away that he's on the hook out here.
That's right. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. God, oh man, I completely had a point I was going to make. Man, it'll come back to me in a second. But oh shoot, that's going to drive me crazy.
That's okay. But
I know what it was. So, used to watch the TV shows, right? All the hunting shows, and I'd be jealous of or envious of the equipment they were using, or like super envious of like the location where they're hunting and stuff. Now, when I watch these shows, I'm envious that they got a cameraman. That's what I'm envious of. I was like, oh, that lucky bastard, they got their own cameraman.
No doubt.
Oh, it's so easy for them.
Yeah, man, you know you're big time when you have another dude in a tree. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And
That's right.
I think you know this too. You're a KGO veteran like myself. You got these guys like, hey man, I don't want to hunt. I just want to come along with you and just video. I'm like, yeah, I know you do.
Yeah,
You just want to know where I'm at. That's all.
that's right. That's right. That's right. Well, speaking of filming, you know, um, with the Lone Wolf custom gear or pro staff team membership, there's also the YouTube channel that goes with that. I believe it's called Whitetail Addictions. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So, kind of all this film and footage you're putting together is kind of all being fed into that machine, as it were.
Yeah, so that's a great point. So the Whitetail Addiction crew are those guys are amazing slayers. I want to just say, just amazing to be a part of that team. For me, I feel it was the elite team, and to be recognized and invited to join that team, I was last year. I was like a little kid, I was a 55-year-old kid coming home from Iowa when I got to be a part of that team. And then so what they're amazing guys, and they said just the bits of pieces I have to save for when I do get all does come together, I'll have one hell of a story because
Yeah,
it'll
man.
be all these others. So they were just like, hey man, it takes time. Sometimes you don't kill a deer for 2 or 3 years. It just doesn't happen every year. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. I've been very fortunate. I've had a couple good years, but I've had droughts. I've had moments where everybody said I had a golden horseshoe stuck up my butt. And then I've had droughts of like, what's happening? It's
Right.
just deer hunting. I've
Yeah.
gone through 4 years, man. It's like, it's,
Yeah.
it's
No doubt. I mean, it's a roller coaster. 2 years ago, I tagged out like it was nobody's business. Last year, I could not get in front of a shootable buck. I just couldn't even get on the same planet with them. You
I
know,
know.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm hoping the pendulum swings back this year.
Well, it will. Determination, discipline, all helps increase your luck because it's all luck. It's the neighbor could spook a deer. He could come around. He could come up. Somebody could bump a deer. The deer's coming your way. A lot of things, especially in suburban areas, they let the dog out at a certain time, and all of a sudden it's spooked. I've had that happen. I've
Yeah.
had a big buck coming in, and the neighbor let the dog out. I'm like, no, but like for all those things to line up and the wind right and all, and just being there, everything you're doing, if you could do everything that is right as much, increases your chance for luck. I really believe it. It helps increase that chance.
Yeah.
Um, just the bottom line of it, but it's a awesome. We're all blessed to be able to get out there and enjoy it, man. And just to be an advocate to help others and the youth that are coming up. I talk a lot about I'm that breed of old school with a little new school, but I'm more old school, man. I believe in woodsmanship. I'm
Yeah.
really more than cameras. Um, I caught a buddy of mine. He has like 55 cameras, right?
Wow.
He's camera nuts.
Yeah.
And he sits on his couch and just hunts cameras. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I ain't got nothing on camera. I'm like, so there's nothing in the woods? Like, what are
Yeah.
you talking?
It's a great point.
You know?
Absolutely.
And I'm like, I got two. And I don't, I love it for inventory because I would have known Tank was showing. I didn't know that. So that's inventory. It's great. And it also can help you see times or whatever. But if he's not showing, doesn't mean that you shouldn't hunt him. He could be somewhere else.
Yeah.
And he actually was a lot higher. He was actually coming in a lot higher than I thought he did. He was actually coming in near the owner's property more than I thought he was, more down by that creek bottom I was telling you about. But he was higher up on the ridge coming in. And I was like, wow, that's how you came. Okay. So it was just, things that you don't think,
Yeah.
sometimes you
Well,
don't get
I think you make a great point there that kind of leads in a couple of directions. One, 55 cameras and just sitting there and hunting from your sofa kind of goes back into that complacency thing that you were talking about earlier. The other part of that is I don't care how many cameras you got out there. I still think at best I mean, unless putting bait or minerals out, when it's legal, you got a 50-50 chance that deer steps in front of that camera.
That's right.
I've had cameras where, they're sitting in a great spot and, I get does and I get this, that, and the other, and 10 yards behind it, there's a 6-8 inch tree that's got a fresh rub on it that's tore all to pieces. And that buck, I mean, he was that close to that camera and never got in front of it, you know?
Yeah.
So, so there's a couple things that you can take away from that point. Cameras are great, like you said, for inventory, but I think if you're using that as your only means of determining when to go hunting, I think you're missing the point a little bit.
Yeah, you are. It's kind of I describe it as when you've done it long enough, you get that gut feeling. Me and a buddy was talking about it. Especially a new property, when you walk it and you get that, you just go, oh, whether it's rubs from 2 years ago, you're seeing where trees were mauled, whether the ground is tore up from a scrape, or you see acorns everywhere with white oaks, all just or deer matter all over. It's just you get that smell, or you're like, this is it.
Yeah.
And it's and then you just say, how am I going to hunt it? And then the biggest part of that is the property that you just got. You just got to look at deer are like people. They have to eat, sleep, but they do it backwards. Their breakfast is their dinner, like our breakfast is their dinner. They do it opposite of us when they're going to their bedding and they're going to their feeding, but they have to eat and drink and sleep. So you find out, where's their water source? Where's the ag? Oh, it's not on this property. Gosh, we have an amazing tool now with, Live Hunt, or you want to use Onyx or whatever. Just look at it. It's at these farms. So how come I'm only killing deer between October 25th and November? Because it's a rut funnel, or what, what I mean?
Yeah.
And one of my spots is a rut funnel. That's what it is. I will not get a good buck. I just had one. Actually, I had one. It was an anomaly, but it was dark. He was just cruising through at 9. But I'll never get anything that shows in there till about that time, because they're coming off these farms. The ag's cut, then they're coming to their woods. So you're learning those kind of things, and just the education part, man, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. And again, tying back into the road show, that was one of the things that the seminar spent a lot of time, had that giant Onyx satellite photo on the board with the contour lines and everything else. And a lot of time was spent talking about, how to pick those terrain features out and how to hunt them and different things like that. So, again, another great point. That is one of the tools that of technology that has certainly been an enhancement
Yes.
for what we do.
Yeah. And for me, I'm a little different than a lot of those guys that have, unless you're in public, and it's really great to do that. But if you're in suburban areas, you really need it for your property lines. I mean, you really need it for your property lines, because where someone says their property is, I've had this happen. They're like, yeah, I got all that. Go ahead. And go ahead and you pull Onyx up and you're on the neighbor's property. You're like, oh, shoot, hold on for a second. You come back over, like, is it okay if I hunt on their land, or do I need to go ask them?
Yeah.
Because where you showed me, oh yeah, they don't care. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Well, okay, there's a line.
That's right. Good point. And one other thing I did definitely want to bring up is, when most people think of Virginia, at least, the people, they think of the rural areas of Virginia, but you're actually kind of more northern Virginia. So suburban hunting is actually, more of what you have to do in terms of the hunting in your area.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, unless you get out a little west, you can get some good acres and all, but
Yeah.
a lot of those deer, around here are just kind of in these smaller pockets. And it's hard to ever see the same deer again the next year. Like, people go, you should let it walk. Well, you let it walk, the odds are he ain't ever coming back. If you got to make that decision right then and there. For me, a 2-year-old, there's a beautiful 10-pointer that's a 2-year-old that I've seen. I hope he makes it. Gorgeous. But I know he'll go over the hill and get shot.
Yeah.
It's the way it's going to be. And hey, you know what? They own the land, they whatever, it makes another hunter happy. That's great, but for me, I just something about a mature buck that just drives. They're just a different animal. It's just you know,
Yeah,
this deer I was lucky to get is 200 pounds, man. I mean, that's a different
that's
different
a
animal.
stud. That's a stud. And you're right. I've had several decent 2 or 3 year olds um, that, for all intents and purposes, I mean, there was nothing wrong with taking those, but I let them walk. And what ends up happening 9 times out of 10 is I never see that deer again. The next year I'd never get it back on camera. Either somebody else has taken him, he's been hit by a car, or he's changed his home range, or whatever the case may be. So I get the strategy, uh, but it doesn't always work out the way that you think it will.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of times on these farms too, man. Like DeQuistos have 1,000 acres, right? But sometimes their deer don't come back. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a deer will go 4 square miles. They've said in rut, 4 square miles. That's a long way. Like
Yeah.
deer all of a sudden just show up out of nowhere, and you're like, where'd that buck come from? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
That's
like,
right.
oh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, cool, man. Man, I think we've been going at it for about an hour, and which is great. It seems like it's been 15 minutes.
it does, dude. I could talk to you for 2 more hours, man.
Ah, man, we'll have to get you back on here again, and
Yeah,
we can deep dive into some of these other subjects, man.
yeah, for sure.
But
But hey, I would like to give one shout out though, because I think we were talking about this before with my camo I'm using.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so for anybody that doesn't know, and I'm saying this because I'm not because it's one of our Whitetail Addiction sponsors or anything like that. This is just a good camo, great camo. Actually, I'm using his Osio gear, and it is for the price and for the actual blending into the tree. It is as good or better than anything I've ever had. And I've had a buck in Ohio last year when I first started using Osio, and I was using their regular Raptor, which is more of a kind of looks like an oak tree, kind of more color. I had that buck staring at me, and after a stare off, he walked a little bit and looked back and lost me and couldn't
Yeah,
find me. And that in itself I knew, but they got a new camo out, Wrap X, and that was what I had on first day with Tank. And I had deer all around me, and some caught my wind, but were looking and never saw me. So it's just something. Their early season. If you haven't heard of Osio gear, check them out.
yeah. I'll be sure to include a link for their stuff and all of the social media stuff that I put out for the podcast. And again, tying back to the Whitetail Roadshow, Osseo was there at the roadshow
Yep.
with a tent or a booth or whatever you want to call it, and showing off some of their product line there, so you could kind of touch it and feel it and see it,
Yep. Yep.
all that kind of stuff. So it was definitely some cool stuff. Definitely recommend checking them out. We'll put that link in there. Brian, is there anything else any other shout outs or plugs?
No, I mean it's just well, I mean I could go on for a little bit, but actually it all comes down to your equipment and Hoyt archery, man. This is my second year shooting Hoyt, and that RX9 I got, I think I was telling you, took me about 3 weeks after to get everything tuned in and right, but she shoots I mean, confidence is key with whatever you use. And that bow right there should sends it like smooth. I mean, sent me a dart, and I can't wait to keep using it. So it makes a great bow. So I will definitely give out shout out to the old Horde Archery team for
Yeah,
making.
yeah. I got to see you shoot it a few times at the end of the show.
Yep.
They're just kind of shooting the breeze there and shooting, and that thing was shooting like a dime. And not that it matters, but you can't help notice the things just look badass. They're just,
That's
I
right.
mean, it's
Yep.
a great shooting bow, and it looks badass all at the same time. I
At
mean,
the same time. Right. That's
it's
right.
something
That's
to
right.
pay attention to. So
That's right.
cool,
Gotta
Brian.
have it.
Man, I've enjoyed the conversation. Thanks again for taking the time out of your day. I know you're busy. I mean, we're already practically in the middle of hunting season for all intents and purposes. So appreciate you taking the time, and man, hope you have continued success in 2025, man. We'll be keeping an eye on you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. You too, man.
All right, buddy.
We'll see you, man.